But if you wanted rear-wheel drive, there was really only one choice. This, the BMW 325 Ti Compact. Okay, so in the Compact for the first time, and Dan, like you've said, there is, from the driving position then, steering wheel, gearbox, the dash, the fascias, etc., the dials, this is E46.
M3, yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And you could cover the BMW badges up and you know you're in a BMW. Yeah. I mean, it's not changed for years and years. It's got all this sort of carbon splashes around. It just lifts it as well and makes it feel even more sporty as well. And 6-speed gearbox, always good to see, which is 2004. They still weren't that common, were they, really?
No, not really. It was the top end cars.
It was.
Them,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And with the Beamers, they were always a lot of money.
Yeah, they were. I know exactly. Yeah. The seats, they come across as bigger than I thought they'd be. I don't know. It's just it was with the video I took from behind the seats where they just look really broad and big seats, but definitely comfortable, and you sat nice and low as well. So crank up the inline 6, and again you could just let me hear that noise. It's very, very distinctive, an inline 6, very distinctive sound. So, and this car's done 119,000. Yeah. So it's been used.
Yeah.
It's been used, but not silly mileage either. So. There's something for me about having a large capacity, sort of 6-cylinder engine in what is, it's a small car, isn't it? This, and being rear-wheel drive as well. It's just, well, it hasn't really got a rival, has it? No. I can't think of any rival. Dan's just been saying he's just changed the rear springs. You can just hear a little bit of touching on the offside rear, where the replacement springs are just a little bit softer, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just softer than the original ones. And,
yeah, you just feel it on some of the or hear it on some of the compressions. So just up this straight here. So just second gear pull here, about 2,000 revs. 3, 4, 5, 6,000 into third. Oh, that gear changes. Oh, so slick, so satisfying that. And then you're getting up to legal speeds quite quickly then. I think it comes in at a shade under 1,400 kg, I think I read.
Yeah. No,
so it's comparable really for hatches, considering it's got a 6-cylinder engine. This is a fast flowing, smooth road. And the steering feel has always been one of the best things with regard to BMW. This left-hander here. The gear changes are just so satisfying on it. That throb of that inline 6. And it feels good for every one of those 190 horses as well.
Yeah. It's usable power, isn't it?
It is. In today's modern cars that are just almost becoming so fast, they're just, you're losing some of that enjoyment because you're getting up to legal speeds far too quickly. So this is another great bit of road here. This one's a bit bumpier, a bit more left and right, a little bit twistier. Not going to rev it out fully here, but it's a 4th gear, just carry it through a couple of these corners. Just to see again, you can hear that slight touching on the back, but that's easily resolved. Steering's much heavier than I thought. There's quite a lot of weight to the steering. Just blip it as you drop from fourth to third through this right-hander. And now for this left. But this is a perfect example. We've come out on a weekend, the weather's actually sunny here, and we are already catching up lots of traffic, and we're in a rural location. And that's another I think reason that says cars becoming too fast. And even in this car now, which is 0 to 60 shade over 7 seconds, that's respectable. Certainly was back in 2004, 20 years ago. I know those numbers now they're just sort of mundane family cars can achieve that, but in 2004 that was good performance from a hot hatch. Compared to the value of compacts. Now I know if you're happy to take a lower engine, they are very, very affordable, 2K. And I know the 325 Ti's are much, much more sought after, especially the later sports. But even then, value, Dan, how much is this car? What do you think this car's worth if you was to sell it tomorrow?
£6,000 is the going sort of rate for them. But they're rare. They rarely come up for sale, the 6-speeders, because there's only 30 on the road.
Yes.
Off the DVLA records, there's 30 taxed and MOT'd, so that's not many. So you can't just go on Auto Trader or eBay or wherever and find one.
Well, it's not even. I know you talk specifically about the 6-speeders, but I mean, compacts of any engine, or autos or manuals, you just don't see compacts anymore, do you?
That's right.
I mean, there were never lots of them anyway, but they're rare cars.
Yeah, they are, and they got drifted out by the kids because they're cheap and they're rear-wheel drive and they weld the diff up, and a lot of them, they're buying the 316 Ti's and then they're swapping out, putting these MB lumps in them because obviously they fit in tidy. You buy yourself a rusty coupe, and you strip it and you build the guts of the coupe into one of these, and then you've got a drift tool for very little money, really.
So incidentally, before, in preparation for this video, I did a YouTube search, and the first video that came up for the 325 Ti was a drift channel.
Yeah.
Now, these don't come with an LSD. No. Is it something that you would consider in the future?
Yeah, well, it's something that I've not booked it yet, but I've arranged somewhere to do it, which is a place called Hotwood Motorsport, which specialises in E46s with the MB engines, and basically they build turbo drift cars. So they turbocharge the MB54 engine, and Alex has built some championship-winning cars. And where are they based? They're based in Leicestershire.
Okay.
And basically, because of the robust nature of the engines, and they are rev happy in standard form. Yeah. And obviously, when they're building the drift cars, they're getting them up to sort of about 600 or 700 horsepower. Basically standard internals. They upgrade the oil pump because that's one thing that lets go, which is something I've got in, ready to go in this car. Yeah. And they're a workable engine that you can get big, reliable brake horse out of. And the S54, in the M3, is a legendary engine. It is. It sounds phenomenal. It revs out. It does everything, but it's high maintenance. Yeah. And when they let go big style, and they're big money to keep them on the road. And that's the thing with the E46 generally. Yeah. The cars are suffering from rust. The compacts don't. So why is that? Because I read that in my prep,
the compacts suffer less than the standard E46. Now that doesn't make sense to me.
They just don't. You know, when I spoke to Alex, he said that, because I mentioned to him, I said about, you know, they do the plate kits for the E46s, because obviously when they're building the E46 coupes into drift cars, they're doing the same as what you do to an M3.
Yes.
They're plating the back axle mounts, because you know that when they get to a certain age, they're rotting out on the mounts, and because the engine's got so much torque and they like to be driven hard, and you can't help yourself driving them hard when you get in one, and they're tearing the axles off the body. So it's basically, that is just a standard thing that you do to these E46s.
Yes.
But lots of them are getting scrapped. There's a guy called Nick Jubb, and basically he's probably scrapping 4 or 5 E46s a week.
Really?
Well, yeah, because they're high maintenance. Wow. And you can get all the bits from them. You can get a lot of bits from BMW, but they know how to charge. It's a lot of car for the money still. You don't get a lot for £6,000.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Certainly not when you talk about BMW and the 6-cylinder engines. Not at all.
You know, I mean, I would say that for the money, this particular car that we're in now, you like, we know our cars, Rich. What could we go, if I gave you £6,000 and said, go out and buy something better than this?
What if you wanted
rear-wheel drive?
rear-wheel drive with a 5-6 cylinder engine in the front with rear-wheel drive. You suddenly, you're limiting your options massively.
You haven't got the choice. So BMW were late to the hot hatch party when they brought this out, and basically Renault had taken over the show, and they were building the Renault sport cars, the Clios, the 225 Megane, which was the third, you know, the 172, the 225. They came out, and all of a sudden, everyone was like, "Wow, what great value for money!"
I think the late 90s, early 2000s, we were awash with hot hatches at the time, weren't we? Really, whether it was the French cars, whether it was Ford and Vauxhall, whether it was the Jap cars, there was hot hatches almost from everywhere. But the one thing BMW had that the others didn't have was rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, that's it.
And they weren't tempted to switch to front-wheel drive. Incidentally, where the latest generation of the 1 Series is. That's now front-wheel drive, isn't it?
And they've reintroduced the TI again, because you get a 328 Ti, which is a front-wheel drive.
Yes. So and we talked about what the TI, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the T apparently stands for hatchback, which I find quite odd, really.
Yeah, especially because it first came out on the 2002 Ti.
Yes, it did. It did.
In the 70s.
And that was a saloon, wasn't it?
Yeah, a 2-door saloon. So it's a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, so that may not be right. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Dan's taking up the driving, as you can tell, because we're now going a little bit quicker. And although we're coming down to probably one of the worst corners that we know around here, because there's potholes that is literally a car would drop in if you hit one around this next corner. And again, looking at Dan's, what are you, Dan? 6'3", 6'4"? Are you 6'6"?
Yeah.
But that's why his head keeps popping off the bloody video when I've been doing it this morning. So that just shows you how low the seat goes, because Dan's still got, flipping it must be 4 or 5 inches above Dan's head. So although it's a small car, and Dan's got loads of space, seats in the back, again, it's comfortable. Absolutely, you could get 2 adults in the back. I'm not saying you want to spend all day in the back, but you could get 2 adults in the back. And just the way it's covering ground, I don't know if you can notice that how I'm being thrown from side to side, but and Dan's not pushing on, this is just cruising along, and the way it just loads up into corners and things like that, it's just it really does. It's a lovely handling car, and it's, to tell you the truth, I think it's what I expected, because it's what BMW are so good at doing. building drivers' cars.
Yeah, I mean, tag was the ultimate driving machine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For lots of years. I don't think they still use that now.
You're buying an old car.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things, I think, when people say, oh yeah, but you've made money on this and that's gone up a lot. And when you buy these old cars, just like this, 2004, it's 20 years old now, the running costs and repair costs, you've got to expect now that there will be repairs that are far higher than if you were running a car that was only 5 or 10 years old. The big one is obviously rust, corrosion. It can just be wear and tear, and it depends on what level you want to get the car to. All the way from just a usable, battered old car, all the way through to concours and anything in between. But Dan, you generally, your cars, you use them pretty much like me. We both use as cars. They're not. We've not really got any garage queens as such. Although I've got a clear 182 that's been sat in the barn for 7-8 months and never moved one millimetre. But anyway, back to the 325i. That is something I do not tire of. When you just, there's no, because it's NA, there is no turbo kick. There's just linear, smooth, I would call it, a smooth pull right up past 6. What's it red line at? 6.8. Yeah, but and peak power, say, comes about 6,000, doesn't it? And it's got that complete linear pull all the way through that rev range. Yeah. And it sounds so nice.
Yeah, I mean, the engine does it all. If you wanna, you can pull out of junctions in seconds. You don't have to slip the clutch or rev it or anything like that. And you know, it drives in town. You can just amble along. Yeah. But then when you want to stick your foot into it and have some fun, it does everything for me.
And this is not quick by modern hot hatch performance. Nowhere near, is it? No. But you think where the M140's gone and the car that Aaron's car that's been featured a few times, and that's just progression. That's just where you've gone in the last 10, 15, 20 years. But you look back at this and you just think these are small cars, big engines, rear-wheel drive, rare cars as well, that have real road-usable power, I think is the best way of saying it. Yeah. And when one passes, which is rare, you know. And the chances are that it's not a 325 Ti either. Dan, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thanks.
As always. Yeah. Loved it. Loved my day with you doing this again on this car. And as I say, Dan and I will be meeting up in only a month or so's time when we go to Anglesey, and we'll see how this car behaves on the track. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed it, as always, please thumbs up, subscribe, stay tuned. Another video next week. Thank you.